Welcome back, everyone, to Good Morning America Now. I'm Robin Roberts. Today's headlines are filled with terrifying examples of ordinary young men and some women making violent political statements in the name of their religion. Some days it's hard to imagine how we're going to stop the violence. But Dr. Eboo Patel, the author of the new book, Acts of Faith, suggests that changes can only begin with interfaith education and dialogue. We brought Dr. Patel and a dynamic group of young people together for an unprecedented roundtable conversation we're calling Faces of Faith.
I was born Muslim, and I know a lot of African-American Muslims.
And there's a definite stereotype that even happens for religious people.
I enjoy being a part of my religion,
there's
but
spirituality,
I also
there's religion,
being,
and there's culture, and I identify with Judaism.
And I think that Christians do have that added responsibility of welcoming,
just
because we have
obeying God is such
anyone that comes up to me, they're like, oh, so SANCHAL, you're Hindu, so does that mean you believe in a million different gods?
7 smart, questioning young minds of all different faiths, taking on what has become one of our most divisive issues, religion. When I ask who amongst them has felt discrimination. Have you ever felt discriminated against? Have you ever felt that you were insulted because of your religion? Show of hands. Almost all raise their hands, a sign of the times perhaps, but not for long, if they have any say.
You need to explain yourself. You need to tell your story to people, and they can show familiarity with you.
The people who aren't religious, being able to say, oh, you're religious, this means blah, blah, and blah. And there's a definite stereotype that even happens for religious people as a whole. What's interesting about that is before a movement such as what Interfaith Youth Corps is working on here, there wasn't a way that the different religious identities were communicating with one another, because they saw their difference in how they interpreted faith and not the common ground of faith.
They are all members of a group called the Interfaith Youth Corps, and their goal is nothing less than to change the world. They have been brought together by this man, Eboo Patel.
We live at a moment of religious conflict around the world, and that's precisely why we need to be proactive about a positive conversation about religion. Why aren't we bringing people from different religious backgrounds together on the one thing that they all agree on, which is how can we serve others?
Eboo Patel is the founder of the Interfaith Youth Corps and author of a new book called Acts of Faith. You look at this as a movement, not just a group, but a movement.
That's right. This is a movement, and all of the thousands and tens of thousands of young people around the world that the Interfaith Youth Corps has inspired are not only participating in these interfaith service projects, they're starting their own project. And I just think, you know, in 5 years, in 10 years, in 15 years, I pray that we have a really different world when it comes to religious diversity. What history teaches us is that it's young people who have changed the world. And a lot of those young people were people of faith. And a lot of those young people were people who were building interfaith cooperation.
This nation will rise up, live out the true meaning of its creed.
So my favorite example of this is Martin Luther King Jr. was only 26 years old when he led the Montgomery bus boycott in 1955. And one of Martin Luther King Jr.'s great heroes was a Hindu, Mahatma Gandhi. And it was Gandhi's movement in India that inspired King in his pacifist movement in America. So there you have these two people who started very young, King and Gandhi, leading their movements of interfaith cooperation, inspiring each other across the ages.
It is a journey that began when he was in grad school, a kernel of an idea that took him to meet the Dalai Lama, who encouraged his quest to start an interfaith group.
I believe in the power of young people to change the world. And I believe that we need to find bridges between our different faiths.
The Interfaith Youth Corps and the leadership programs help me to see that there are people that are like-minded as myself. And I see the struggle that a lot of Muslims have that I can relate to. And it gave me a positive way to inflict a positive change.
The idea is simple. Bring young people together to do projects that help others and share their thoughts about religion. Are you trying to say all religion is alike?
I'm a very proud Muslim, and some of my best friends are people who are very proud Jews, very proud Christians, very proud Hindus. So in the conversations that we have, we try to steer towards how our different faiths lead us to be merciful, to be compassionate, to be of service to others.
A lot of the problems that people have with religion are because there seems to be so many rules. And if you look at like the basis of religion and like where the religion came from, like the teachings of Jesus or like the teachings of Muhammad or whatever, you're going to see like a very pure form of that religion. You're going to see those bridges that Eboo was talking about that really connect us, that really connect all of the faiths and all people everywhere, not just people of faith or people who are spiritual.
In focusing on the positive, the hope is these young people learn a healthy way to talk about their differences. Do you feel a difference after 9/11?
Actually, in high school, my scarf was pulled off after September 11th. And in the end, I think what Gandhi said and what Gandhi taught is so beautiful in the sense that if you don't respond to that in a negative way, people can take something beautiful out of that interaction. What doesn't kill you makes you stronger, right?
Sure. So. Do you feel though that when you're dressed like that you still get people in this country that cannot for whatever reason get beyond what's on your head?
Definitely. I'm a Muslim, and this is what I believe. I believe that my Lord Allah and God sent this declaration stating that Muslim women should wear the head covering. I think wearing the headscarf kind of gives women in Islam the liberty to speak their mind rather than being judged about their physical appearances, and that's kind of the perspective that we come from.
Are you asked something repeatedly, or is there something that people don't quite understand?
One is you don't believe in heaven and hell, and you don't believe that Jesus is your Lord and Savior, and the answer is no. And as a Jew, for me, what compels me to do the work of service and to do the difficult dialogue is that I'm compelled and I have an obligation to do the right thing because it's the right thing to do, not because I'm going to be praised later on or punished later on, but that it's here and now. Our actions is what's going to matter.
When people asked you, why don't you eat meat, why are you eating peanut butter and jelly? I had that same conflict. Growing up as a Hindu, I'm a vegetarian, I had those same questions. But now, when people ask me that and I tell them, and we had that difficult dialogue, people are more understanding.
People, my friends, anyone that comes up to me, they're like, oh, so Sanchal, you're Hindu, so does that mean you believe in a million different gods? And I'd love to just clear that up. So one thing is that Hindus believe, we give reference to all gods, but we all believe in one specific God as our supreme God. Though I'm Swaminarayan, which is a specific sect of Hinduism, and I believe my supreme God is Lord Swaminarayan, whereas someone that's Vaishnav would believe that their supreme God is Lord Krishna. So that's one major misconception, that we do have a lot of gods and we do give reverence to them, but we also follow one God as our Savior. So.
How do black folks sing and shout in church, I think, is my top conception, because I come from a historically black or African American denomination, and so there's lots of singing and clapping and shouting, and sometimes I feel like dancing. And I think that comes from a lot of history of kind of oppression of the African American people in this country. So we sing and we shout because it is our way to reference and give reverence to God.
Through the friendships they have made and the work they have done, they haven't just helped others, they have helped themselves in the end as well.
Everybody has a trying situation, and we're not here to compete about who is discriminated against the most or who is the worst off. And we're making a statement and we're saying this is easy sometimes, this is hard sometimes, but this is the right thing to do always.
What do you want people to come away with?
It's not just, very religious people who can be involved and engaged in this movement. It's, the housewife, it's the businessman, it's everyone. There's a set of common values that we all share and a set of common experiences that we all share that translates beyond this faith line.
It's okay to talk about your faith, your differences with people. That's the main goal that we're trying to create right now, is be open, be confident about what you want to talk about, and be able to listen to someone else and learn something about them.
I think one of the things that people are scared of interfaith dialogue because they're scared they're going to be converted. They're scared that once they get into a situation where they're with people of different faiths that they're going to question what they knew their whole life. But I think out of that that space of discomfort, you're allowed to grow. And you will only find that your faith will deepen.
We say don't talk about politics, don't talk about religion at the table, but how else are we supposed to express who we are, what inspired us, what keeps us going, what motivates us, why we do things?
I believe this is one of the most pressing issues of our generation, and the ability for us to work together to help one another for the common good is so huge, and I think that it's something we have to do, and I just think we're on that road here.